Welcome back to the channel. Today we got our 5 best bets for college basketball here on December 12th. Before we get into the best bets for today, we got to briefly talk about yesterday's disaster. I mean, it was just a day full of bad beats. There's really nothing else we can say. Again, it was a 2-3 day, not the worst, but I mean, man, it's technically a 3-3 day if you count the bonus play with Norfolk State covering the 25.5 points against Baylor. So it is what it is, however you want to interpret that. But South Dakota State, man, oh my goodness. You're up by 7 points at halftime against Nevada. I was popping the champagne, man. I was popping the champagne at halftime. Up by 7. I thought at the very least we're covering the 10.5 points. Then we got the 11.5 points we got. And they just outright lose the game. They get outscored by 28 points in the second half. And Nevada literally couldn't miss a shot in that second half. Oscar Clough, when we need you, pal, you just don't come through. It was bad. It was really bad. Shout out to the Raging Cajuns for coming through last night. The Raging Cajuns defended that home court again against Southeastern Louisiana. And shout out to Long Island University not losing by more than what the 15 points they were getting. That game was kind of close at the end against UMass Lowell. We thought that line was way too big in that game. And then Fresno State. Don't get me started on Fresno State. The Bulldogs were covering that entire basketball game. And then with a minute to go, BYU goes on a 6-0 run, and the Cougars cover at the very end of the game. The only time BYU was covering in that game was at the very end. The last shot of the game. Fresno State. And then, again, we went over South Dakota State. We're looking for a better day today. And don't even get me started on the Warriors. Don't get me started. We hit a plus 250 dog with the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA, but do not get me started on the Golden State Warriors. They got robbed. The NBA is rigged. I have nothing else to say. Okay. Let's move on to our best bets today. And folks, again, if you want to join us for more NBA, we hit on that plus 250 dog yesterday with the Atlanta Hawks. Make sure to join us again in about an hour for our NBA predictions that are also daily on the channel. Our NFL predictions were posted yesterday. The bowl game / college football playoff schedule is here. We just posted our Army-Navy game / bowl week 1 predictions earlier this week. Then we will have, again, the college football playoffs next week, and there's the schedule again if you want to pause it and see it. So that's coming to you again weekly here on the channel. Our PFL Europe predictions are posted. Our UFC Fight Night, Tampa, Covington versus Buckley predictions are posted. And make sure, again, you have a couple more days to join the Greedo Plays 20,000 subscriber giveaway. It is literally free to do. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel and follow the channel on Instagram. That's all you got to do. And you're automatically entered to win $100, again, for 20,000 subscribers. Okay, let's get to our first game of the day. Not many games to choose from, but I do have 5 that I do relatively like. Compared to the last slate that we had with only literally 5 games, I had no selection here. Again, there's 7 games in total today between 2 Division I schools. And I do like the 5 that we got today. There's one game in particular, there's one game that I don't love, but I don't feel bad in making the pick. This is not one of them. Campbell versus the Citadel. I really like the Citadel in this spot. They're at home here in Charleston, South Carolina. Guys, Campbell's just bad at basketball. Citadel, in all fairness, is not very good too, and we will get to Citadel's fraudulent 5-3 record because, my goodness, is it fraudulent? It very is. Campbell, though, not a great team. Again, we're getting Citadel at home here as underdogs. Campbell is the favorites. They are a team that is 4-5 this season out the CAA. That's a conference with teams like Hampton, with teams, again, like Charleston. You might be thinking, is the Citadel in this? No, Citadel's in the Southern Conference. Yes, I forget that too myself sometimes. But anyways, Campbell, they're a 4-5 team. Their wins, though, Pfeiffer University, don't know what the hell that is. St. Francis PA, they lost to. They almost, they were in a close game somewhat against Virginia, and we'll get to the Cavaliers in a second. They beat Newberry. They beat Navy, okay. Lose to Ohio State. Lose to Evansville, who we're going to get to in a second here, which, again, remember that Evansville loss for Campbell. Not a great loss, losing to Evansville. They beat Green Bay on the road, I'll give them that, but they just lost to Coastal Carolina by 1 point at home. Campbell's just not that good of a team. Their leading scorer is Jason Ciani, who averages 13 points a game. Then after that, you go to Taryn Frank, who's averaging 9.5. Cam Gregory's averaging 8. Colby Duggan's averaging 8. It's not that great of a fighting Camels team, I'll be honest with you. Again, it has been Ciani and Frank who have been leading the charge recently. Ciani with back-to-back 20-point games and the losses to Evansville and Green Bay. But in that Coastal game, it was Frank who put up 20 points. This is why I like the Bulldogs here. I like Citadel in this game, not because of their record, because they have not beaten anybody. I'm going to be honest with you. They beat Erskine. I don't know what that is. I'll be honest. They beat them by 30 points. They beat Stetson. This Stetson's absolutely horrible. They're 1-8 this season. They beat North Greenville. Is that a school? I guess that's a school. Never heard of it. They lose to North Carolina A&T. They lose to Charleston. They beat St. Andrews and they beat Toka Falls. I think they've beat one D1 school, and it's Stetson. And Stetson's 1-9. But they did play Boston College relatively close to start off the season, only lost the game by 9 points. They lost to North Carolina A&T by 9. Charleston beat them by 15. The reason, though, I am taking Citadel is because they have the best player on the court, and it's not even close. It's Brody Fox. Brody Fox is by far the best player in this basketball game. He is a guard for Citadel who's averaging 20 points a game. He's a senior out of Minnesota. He's been playing lights out this season, and he's been good really his entire collegiate career. He played, I believe, D2 last season, was a pretty good player over there. I don't entirely know what D2 school he played at, but so far this season, 20 points a game. Again, Brody Fox has been by far the best player for the Citadel this year, and I'd expect more of the same in this game with Campbell. And ultimately, that's the reason why I'm taking the Citadel to win. I think there is one player in this basketball game that can completely take over the game. Yes, it is Brody Fox. Sure, Jason Siani for Campbell has been putting up 20-point performances, but there are games where he completely just goes ice cold and doesn't do anything. Brody Fox is by far the most consistent player on the court, and he's the best player on the court. That's why I am going with the Citadel to win this basketball game. And on top of that, they are at home. I think both the teams are kind of even. I'll be honest with you, but when you add in again, Brody Fox being the best player on the Citadel and this game being in Charleston, South Carolina, I do like the Bulldogs to win this basketball game over this Campbell squad, who again has not been that impressive this season. They have losses again to St. Francis, PA. They lost to Evansville. Those are not great losses, and that's why we like the Bulldogs of Citadel to go out here and beat Campbell in our first best bet of the video. Next up, we go on to the Virginia Cavaliers taking on Bethune-Cookman. I have a rule on the channel for college basketball. If we see a SWAC team, we usually fade them because the SWAC is by far the worst conference in college basketball. It just is. It's the same conference that currently has 2-8 Mississippi Valley State, 2-9 Arkansas Pine Bluff, 1-8 Prairie View A&M, 0-10 Alcorn State, and 0-10 Jackson State. One of the teams in the middle of the conference currently is Bethune-Cookman. Maybe I should have thought better of North Dakota yesterday because they lost to Bethune-Cookman this season. Regardless, though, these SWAC teams are known for taking bye games where they go on the road to big schools just to get their ass beat so they can get some money. That's exactly what Bethune-Cookman is doing here against Virginia. This is what the SWAC does, and Bethune-Cookman is going to get slaughtered in this basketball game. You know how I know why? Because they got slaughtered against Minnesota. If you get killed against the Minnesota Golden Gophers, you are going to get destroyed by anyone. I don't care that Virginia is at the bottom of the ACC this season. I don't care. Virginia will still blow this team out. If they can't blow this Bethune-Cookman team out, Virginia is getting instantly banned. First time they've been featured on the channel. They are getting instantly banned, and we are never speaking of the Virginia Cavaliers in a positive light ever again. Okay? It's that simple. It is that simple. 15.5 points. You're Virginia. I don't care how bad they have been this season. I don't care how bad they have been in the past. That Virginia is not the same Virginia. I mean, still, hell, last year they were in the NCAA tournament. Year before, of course, they lose to Furman in the first round. Year before that, they went to the NIT. And the year before that was the year that they lost to. No, that was not the UMBC year. They lost to Ohio, and then what was it? 2018 lost to UMBC. 17? God, that was that long ago. 2017-18. My goodness. Still. I don't care that Virginia basketball, again, has kind of gone to crap. I know they did win the Natty in 2018, 2019, but still. You're Virginia. You need to blow out Bethune-Cookman here. I get it. The team has not been great this season. McNeely's been their leading scorer, 14 points a game. Then you get Elijah Saunders averaging 9.5. Andrew Rhodes averaging 9. It's not a great team, I'll be honest with you, but Bethune-Cookman is just absolutely atrocious, guys. This team's bad. They do have some guys who can score. Braylon Freeman averages 16.5, but again, the last time we saw Bethune-Cookman was over a week ago. It was 11 days ago. We bet against them, obviously, with the Minnesota game. Minnesota barely covered that line, but you know what? Again, Minnesota was getting, 16.5 points against Bethune-Cookman? Virginia is getting 15.5, which, guys, I know Virginia's not playing great basketball this season. I get it again. Losses to Tennessee, St. John's, Florida, SMU. I get that. I still think they beat a very bad Minnesota team. I really think they would. Minnesota is horrible this year, and they were able to cover that Bethune-Cookman line. Virginia gets an even lower line in this basketball game. I think the Cavaliers should be fine. We have seen them, again, against some of these teams that they're supposed to slaughter. We're talking about Holy Cross. They beat them by 30-something points. They beat Coppin State 62-45. They did keep Campbell in the game, though, and Manhattan. But still, Bethune-Cookman is another level of bad. They are one of the better teams in the SWAC, and trust me, we're going to have some fun picking SWAC conference play down the stretch of this year, especially when we get into the new year. But right now, the SWAC is focused on one thing and one thing only, that is getting money and not giving a damn about what happens in the basketball game. Obviously, again, the guys at Bethune-Cookman are going to try, but we have faded Bethune-Cookman already this season twice. We faded them early in the year against Texas Tech, and we're going to fade them again here, or faded them in the Minnesota game as well. We're going to fade them for a third time this year. Again, they got slaughtered in the Texas Tech game earlier this year. They got slaughtered in the Minnesota game, which is very tough to do against that bad Golden Gophers team. I would expect Virginia to beat the crap out of Bethune-Cookman as well. Give me the Cavaliers to cover the 15.5 points and obviously win the basketball game as well. Let's go on to our third best bet of the video. It is the Battle of Iowa. And by far, the biggest game of the day. You have got the Iowa Hawkeyes hosting the number 3 ranked Iowa State Cyclones. I think the game is competitive. I think Iowa State wins it. I think it's going to be a nail-biter, but I do think Iowa, again, is going to cover the spread, but Iowa State will win. I've seen too many times this season high-profile matchups where elite teams and high-ranked teams like Iowa State go on the road, and either it's a very close game that they barely scratch out of, or they straight up lose. I'm going to take the spread on Iowa. I'm not going to play, obviously, with the money line in this basketball game, but we will take plus 6.5 for the Iowa Hawkeyes in this game. I was okay. They're 1-1 so far in Big Ten play. They went on the road to Ann Arbor and only lost by 1 point to Michigan. They beat Northwestern in their first game in Big Ten play this season. We've seen them in their non-conference schedule look okay. Their only other loss, other than the Michigan loss, is the loss to Utah State. They've beaten teams like the South Dakota Coyotes, like the Washington State Cougars. They've beat some okay teams. They are led by Owen Freeman, who literally does everything for this basketball team. Him and Peyton Sanford are the two best guys in the squad. Freeman averaging 17-7, Sanford averaging 16.5 and 5. You also get Josh Dix as well, and Price Sanford as well. I mean, these guys are solid. They are. I think they are able to stay in this basketball game with Iowa State. Don't get me wrong. I think Iowa State's winning. But I think, again, you look at this rivalry game. It's Iowa City, right? Yeah, because Ames is Iowa State. Yeah, it's in Iowa City. Iowa should be able to keep this game close. Again, Iowa State's the better team. I'm not going to dispute that. They are the better squad. With Keyshawn Gilbert, with Curtis Jones, they're the better team. I'm not denying that. But I do think Iowa's able to keep it close. Again, you know this place is going to be rocking for this game. I did watch Iowa earlier this season, I'm not going to lie, and I wasn't impressed with the Washington State game. The Northwestern game, they looked good. Obviously, losing at Ann Arbor. They've looked better, though, as the season's gone on. Past the Utah State game, I would say they got things together again when they got that tune-up game against South Carolina Upstate, and they beat Northwestern. Obviously, again, didn't win the Michigan game, but stayed in that ball game. I think they're able to stay in this one with Iowa State as well. Again, Iowa has played competitive basketball games all year. Their biggest loss all season is 8. Sure, they only have 2 of them, but still they lost by 8 points to Utah State, 2 against Michigan. And the game, again, on top of this game's in Iowa City as well. I'm not going to tell you to pick Iowa on the money line. I think that's too much of a stretch, but I do think they're able to stay in this basketball game. This is going to be a razor-thin game, okay? Iowa's not lost at home all season. They've not lost at home for a while. I think they're like on a, 8-game winning streak right now at home. That's literally the entire year, so that's my fault. I thought it was longer, honestly. I don't think because they lost the end of the year last year, right? At home against against Illinois. Yeah, they did. Regardless, I think Iowa's the better team here. I think they will be. They're not the better team. Iowa State's the better team. But I do think Iowa's able to stay competitive in this basketball game. I think, again, just the rivalry nature of this one, it is in Iowa City. I think all that considered, I think Iowa State is in the game, and they've just been playing competitive basketball all year long. Again, I think Iowa State is the better team, but I do just think Iowa's able to stay in it because of that home court advantage and because, again, the rivalry nature. I feel like this game will not be a blowout. I think Iowa will be able to stay in it. Ultimately, though, I do think Iowa State wins, but give me the Hawkeyes on the plus 6.5 point spread. Next up, we go on to one hell of a basketball game here between UT Arlington and Arkansas State in Jonesboro, Arkansas. We are going with the Red Wolves to cover the 8.5 points. Hopefully we don't walk into the trap, because I do feel like this is a trap type line. I'm not going to lie. It feels like a trap. It does, but we are going to walk right into it and hopefully walk out of it. It feels like a trap because Arkansas State is coming off that victory on the road at Memphis. That was a huge victory. Huge win for the Red Wolves, winning that game by 13 points. I mean, you can't ask for a better performance out of Joseph Pinion, out of guys like Taron Todd, like Kobe Julian. I mean, that was a big victory for Arkansas State. It's the biggest one they're probably going to get all year. Let's be honest with you. Let's be honest with ourselves. But Arkansas State's been sneaky good this year. I know they have those 2 games against Rice and Hofstra, which suck. They do, right? Losing to Rice, losing to Hofstra. But those were tournament games. since they've returned from that. They beat Jackson State by 2 points, and then again, you go on the road and beat Memphis by 13. That's impressive. It really is. They played Alabama earlier in the year in Tuscaloosa. They only lost the game by 9 points. Sure, they played Akron earlier this season, took them to overtime, but the Zips are pretty solid, man. The Zips and Kent State and I'll say Toledo are probably the favorites right now to get out the Mid-American Conference. So for the Red Wolves to beat Akron in the opener this year, that's not a bad win either. Again, this is a 7-3 Red Wolves team. Again, you look at their opponents in UT Arlington, I feel like it is a smash spot here for Arkansas State, especially coming off their victory against Memphis. You look at what UT Arlington's done this season, right? They have played USC close, but everyone can play USC close, just depending on the night. They lost by 10 points to Missouri State, lost by 13 to Murray State at home. They did stay somewhat competitive against Rhode Island, lost the game by 5, but still, I'm not sold on UT Arlington. I think, again, they're kind of being fed into the Wolves here. No, actually, pun intended, because they're playing the Red Wolves. But I do think UT Arlington, again, will get blown out in this basketball game. I do think Arkansas State kind of just gets away from them. You look at what the Mavericks have done this season. They do get their leading scorer back, Lance Ware. He's been back for a couple games now. The senior has played 4 games. He scored 17 points in the ULM game, scored 26 in his return in Jacksonville against Murray State, 14 in the Austin PA win, and then only scored 2, though, in the Rhode Island victory. It's fine. Again, Lance Ware is a good player, but I do think Arkansas State's going to be fine in this one. I like what we got coming off that Memphis victory, obviously, with Pinion scoring 22. They've got to get enough scores on this team. They got Terran Todd, they got Julian, they got Joseph Pinion, who again only averages 9 points a game, but put up 22 in their victory on the road at Memphis. I cannot understate how big of a victory that is for the Sun Belt's own in the Arkansas State Red Wolves. I'm hoping we don't completely fall in the trap here, though. Again, I understand it. This game has such trap possibility. You're taking a team that just went on the road and beat a ranked squad, and now they underperform in their first game back at home in Jonesboro. I just can't confidently tell you that UT Arlington is going to cover this 8.5 point spread, and that's why we're going with Arkansas State. Again, by far, Arkansas State's the better team. They're playing with momentum, and they get the game at home. 8.5 points, I feel fine with this line. Give me the Arkansas State Red Wolves to cover the line at home, and of course, win the game outright as well. Let's go into our final game of the video, and yes, we go to Evansville, Indiana. I told you to remember that name, obviously, Evansville, Indiana. And here we are with them taking on Chattanooga in the Ford Center, of course, in Evansville, Indiana. I'm taking Chattanooga. Evansville's really bad. They just are. I get it again. It's just basketball in 49 states. In Indiana, it's something else. I get that. But Evansville might be the worst team in the state right now in terms of the D1 level. I mean, seriously. I mean, the Sycamores are better than them, right? The Screaming Eagles are really bad. Maybe Evansville. No, I don't know. No, the Screaming Eagles are bad. Maybe, no, that'd be a ball game. Southern Indiana versus Evansville. They don't play, right? I don't think they do. Yeah, they don't. Evansville probably beat Southern Indiana. But Evansville, I don't think they're that great in the Missouri Valley. I think they're one of the worst teams in the conference. I know they played Murray State pretty competitive in their first game, lost the game by 2 points, but I don't know, Evansville's not that good. I watched them play Ohio State this year, and they literally scored 30 points in a basketball game. Yeah. They lost 80-30 in Columbus. I get it. They're playing Ohio State, but you scored 30 points in a basketball game? Come on now. Come on. Back-to-back losses against Murray State, and they got Western Kentucky at home in their last game. They went into that game at halftime in the lead, and WKU ended up winning the basketball game by 14 points. They beat Campbell. They beat Green Bay. Those are 2 bad teams, though. Lost by 17 points to Middle Tennessee. Lost to North Texas by 17 points as well. Actually, the same exact score, 80-63. Lost to Radford at home. They've lost at home time in and time out this season. Lost to WKU, lost to Radford. I think Chattanooga is able to go on the road and win this basketball game. They are the team that's been playing better recently. They are coming off a loss to Lipscomb. Not a horrible loss. They beat Bryant, who hasn't been bad this season. They beat Bryant by 8 points. They beat Tennessee State, Southeastern Missouri, Morehead State, losses to USC, St. Mary's, Austin, PA. Again, not horrible losses, and the teams they're beating are not that bad either. Chattanooga is led by Bash Weiland, who's averaging 14.5 points per game. He is back from injury, he's put up 21 points in the Lipscomb W. They also got Trey Bonham as well, who's averaging 12.5 points, and Honor Huff, who's averaging 10 points a game as well. I just think Chattanooga is the better team. I get it, the game's in Evansville, Indiana, and Evansville doesn't get the worst crowd actually to their games, because like literally, what else is there to do in Evansville, Indiana? Legitimately, what else is there to do in Evansville, Indiana? I would just go on let's do it. Let's see what there is to do in Evansville, Indiana. One time for the one time. Let's see it. Here we go. Ignore the essays I got to do on the top of the screen. Yes, it's final season and it sucks. But what is there to do in Evansville, Indiana? All right. I've never been. I lived in the state for a year. I never went to Evansville, right? I don't even think I passed through it. Actually, no, I have passed through Evansville. Wait, no, I haven't, because you don't, no, never mind. You don't go from St. Louis to Evansville. I did not realize how close Evansville is to Arkansas, to Jonesboro. That's actually crazy. I did not know it was just right there. Oh, that is something. But still, I mean, who cares? I mean, who cares? Wait, I'm tripping. I'm actually tripping. I just thought they were playing. I for a second, I was like, oh, Chattanooga's from Jonesboro. No, they're in Tennessee. They're right here. Chattanooga's right here, too. Anyways, Jonesboro, Arkansas. I'll be honest, I had no idea where Jonesboro was on a map for Arkansas State, but Chattanooga's right there, too. Also, yeah, so what is there to do in Evansville, Indiana? Here we go. Let's look up what is there to do. What is there to do in Evansville, Indiana? There's a zoo. There's a giraffe. It's great. There's a leopard. Is that a leopard? How many people live in this? 350,000 people live here? Really? Evansville Otters. This is not a... Yeah, that's a Frontier League team, isn't it? What is Evansville famous for? Here we go. Museum, zoo, a minor league baseball team, and a minor league hockey team. A league of their own. Okay, I've had enough of Evansville, Indiana. Okay. I've actually had enough. So what does that mean? There's nothing to do in Evansville, Indiana, so that's why they're gonna draw a crowd. I believe SmackDown, WWE came here a couple months ago. Regardless, give me Chattanooga. They're the better team, guys. They just are. They are the better squad. They beat teams like Evansville. They've beaten teams like Moorhead, like Bryant, like Tennessee State. I don't care the game is in Evansville, Indiana. It doesn't really make a difference to me. I think Chattanooga is the better team, and I don't think, again, the game being in Evansville will make the difference in this one. Give me the Chattanooga Mokes. I don't know, shout out to Terrell Owens. That's the most famous guy I know from Chattanooga. Give me Chattanooga to beat the Purple Aces of Evansville. They'll win the basketball game. They'll cover the 1.5 points as well, so give me the road team in Chattanooga to win this one. Finishing out here, our 5 best bets for college basketball here on December 12th. Folks, if you have not yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for, again, more best bets here with college basketball. Make sure to join us in an hour for our NBA predictions as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.